What's up, everybody? Hello, hello, and welcome to JTOL TV Talk, where I am your host, Sonia Green. I want to say, hey, welcome. Glad you came back. And, it's just good to be back. And as the old folks say in church, it's just good to be seen, right? I just want to welcome you to JTOL TV Talk, where we talk about everything from politics to trash talk to wherever the conversation is being held, we are there. And my favorite saying is I love to say that boots on the ground is better than seats in a suit because the boots on the ground has the heart of America. And again, welcome to JTOL TV. We have a fantastic conversation today. Very excited about this conversation. It's something that we really don't hear a lot about. It's rarely we always hear the opposite of what we're going to discuss today. And if you don't mind, can you just share this with your friends, share this with someone that you know that are having issues? And we're going to get it, and I'm kind of really skating around it. But let me just say this. We're going to talk about father rights tonight. And what is very interesting is that we don't hear a lot about fathers, right? As much as I have tried to find videos on fathers, what it feels like for fathers not to have children, their children, and so forth. What has happened is I found more videos regarding deadbeat dads and how my father had left me. I didn't find anything on how the father felt when they can't see their children. So listen, if you have someone who are fighting for custody for their children and they're the father, any aspects of the father rights, please share this. Invite some people to listen so we can have the conversation regarding father's rights. And I just want to introduce my sister, this awesome woman of God. She's just dope. I don't know how, it seems like I've been knowing her a long time because that's what it just, how when God connects you with people, just sometimes you just seem like you've been knowing people a long time. You really can't say when you met them, it just kind of flows together. So I want to introduce to you all this awesome woman of God here. And this is attorney. Well, I tell you, attorney Deidra Hayes. How can I forget your last name? I just forgot it. Get this something? I just forgot your last name. It just eluded me. And I'm having a brain fart, y'all. So forgive me. Deidre, I just as much as I,
Haynes.
hey, yeah, but what's your middle name? Nicole, what's on your okay, so I did say it right. Okay. See, I'm used to three names. When you become important, you have three names. Like that lets you know you ain't playing. So this is my sister Deidra Hayes, and she's an attorney in Indy. I'm going back to Indiana. That's my state. So I want her to introduce herself and tell us what type of law she does, where she can be found, and then we're going to get into the conversation about fathers' rights. Hey sis, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well.
Looking fly, looking dripping with all that sauce on there, looking like a beautiful Nubian African queen. Like, don't mess with me. And but so, can you just tell the people a little something about your firm? I remember when you started your firm, I asked you for a job as an attorney. You told me no. So, so can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure, absolutely. I am an attorney. I practice in the state of Indiana, specifically in Indianapolis, Indiana, and the surrounding areas. I have been practicing since 2010, and then in 2016, I became a solo practitioner. I went out on my own and created my own firm. When I began to practice, I was originally doing criminal law, always family law, and then I started doing employment litigation, fighting for Black and Brown people who have been discriminated in the workplace. But my main focus has always been family law with a specific focus on fathers' rights. And a little bit about that and how I kind of started focusing on fathers' rights. I didn't know my father at all until I was 40. I'm 44 now, and I didn't meet my father until I was 42. And even then, when I met my father, he originally still didn't want anything to do with me. So I suffered through my childhood about abandonment issues and rejection issues. And I would always cry and say, God, what good could come out of this? And when I would always, that was always my prayer. Nothing possibly could come good out of a son or a daughter not having their father in their lives. But God took my hurt and my pain and said, I'm going to teach you how to fight for the very thing that you did not have. And so when a father comes into my office, my I almost kind of get a flashback that I wish this would have been my father fighting for me. So I kind of say that I'm, the Mayweather for fathers. All boxing gloves are off. I'm going to fight you to the end when it comes to my fathers. I love them a lot. All my fathers, I love them.
Listen, the great thing about the what's his name, Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather, they call him the money machine, honey. That's a great title to take. So I love to hear what you just said, that drove your passion to jump into this field. Usually, we can talk about a whole gamut of things, but I love to hear that your passion, and it's usually like that. The passion God always puts in you is probably the thing that we should be doing, right? I know I get a lot of people saying you should run for politics. I'm like, I'm afraid they'll kill me because I'll be too honest. So they're gonna kill me since you be defending me.
Okay.
And so that is so awesome. So what happened after you met your father? If we could just, if you don't mind sharing, you don't have to.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first met my father, I called him up and said, "Hey, well, let me rewind a little bit. I was actually in Chicago, Illinois, at a conference at Apostle Eckhart's church, and an apostle or prophet called me out and said, "Listen, no, who was it? It was a prophet, and I can't think of her name. She's the young lady that we did the conference with.
Ruff, Sophia Ruff.
Ruffin, yeah, Sophia Ruffin.
I call her Ruff.
Yeah, she called me out. She said, "Listen, you don't know your biological father, but she said go back home and ask your mom about your biological father because your mom does know." And remember, all these years, my mom said she didn't know. So
Wow.
my mom, I said, "Hey, I met this prophet, Prophet Sophia Ruffin." She said, she prophesied some things in my life, and my mom said, "Well, whatever she said, you make sure you listen to her because she's absolutely right." I was like, "Well, thank you, Mama, because she said you know my daddy." And from that point, she said, "Okay, yes, I do, and this is his information." Called him up, didn't want anything to do with me. So I was hurt and crying. The first person I knew to call was our spiritual father, Dad Ivory Hopkins, and Dad Ivory Hopkins talked me through the process of dealing with that pain and rejection all over again. And we continued to pray. Me and Dad, we continued to pray. And then one day, out of the blue, his wife called and said that God dealt with her and said that I should actually get the opportunity to meet my father. Took a DNA test. I'm not sure if they didn't know, if I was really the long lost child or not. But DNA test came back. I was his daughter, and he was actually on his deathbed at that point. If he would have accepted me when I first reached out, I would have had 1,001 questions for him because at that time he was still able to speak.
Wow.
By the time his wife called me back and said, "Listen, I want you to meet your father," he had already lost his voice. And so I believe that God used that for me just to enjoy the time with my father and not to interrogate him. Because, I was coming in like a straight up lawyer. I had 1,001 questions. But I think it was a time where God says, "I don't need you to ask questions." He can't answer them anyway because he's mute. And I spent like 9 months with him before he passed away. So I consider that 9 months like a birthing of our time together. And I did his eulogy at his funeral.
Wow.
Yeah, I did, and I just kind of continue to use that as a motivation for me to fight for father
So
rights.
can I ask you something? So in the process of you stated that your dad didn't want to have anything to do with you. Was it because of his wife, or that was a decision he made?
Well,
You don't have to get into it. I was just asking.
no, it's fine. I think it was a decision on both my mother and my father. My mother actually had an affair with him,
Okay.
and the affair was her best friend. So I
Oh,
was kind of
wow.
like the hidden child that should have never been present. So it was to protect his marriage. It also was to protect my mom's relationship with her best friend. And so I just became, I was developed a beautiful diamond in the rough, I guess.
Wow, you're right about that. And you are beautiful. Wow, I'm glad you shared that story. That is so awesome because even in some of the things that even some of the things that I'm counting, because my son, before he passed,
Hmm.
he had sole custody of his three children.
Okay.
And so we had to fight that because, just as you stated, there's a tendency for the court always to think that the mother is the best person for the child. In some cases, some mamas got some real issues. And even, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So I'm just going to read these stats and we're going to go from there.
Okay.
So I did a few stats, and I'm a researcher. I did a little research because you are the SME of this subject. So here's something that came from Father Rights, and it says fathers with visitation rights pay 79.1% of child support, which is true. I believe that's kind of true because if you love your kid, you want to take care of your kid. And that's a good stat to me. I
Yeah,
really like that because that shows that they care about their children. 44.5% of fathers with no visitation rights still financially support their children.
that's
Is
true.
that true?
That is true.
66% of all child support not paid by non-custodial fathers is due to the inability to pay.
Um, I don't necessarily believe that.
Okay,
Um, I believe that just through the history of me dealing with fathers,
okay,
um, some fathers believe because I'm rejected on having the opportunity to see my children, that it alleviates me from having to pay child support. And
wow,
so when the mother is fighting back, you can't see, you can't see. It does drive the men away. I tell them, don't drive away, you drive forward. But it drives them away, and then they feel like if I'm not seeing my children, I'm not going to support them, which is never and I never support that. I always tell them, no, you're going to support your children, or you don't want to hire me. But that does happen. But I don't believe it's because they don't have the ability to pay. I
okay,
believe everyone has the ability to pay, whether it's $20 a week or whether it's $200 a week. You have the ability to pay something to support your child.
wow, that's good. I listen, y'all. I've been trying to get her to get her license here. She, for some reason, she just won't do it. I think she don't want to give me a job. So the number five stat is that almost 47% of non-custodial mothers default on child support, compared with the 27% of fathers who default. Is that something that will a
Yeah,
lot of women default on
yeah,
child support? Does
yeah.
it tend to go after women who
Um, in my opinion, I don't see them going after the women as hard as they go after the men.
Okay,
When you're talking about child support, if a father is delinquent on child support, they're going to have a warrant for their arrest. I'm fighting a case right now where I had to file a motion to recall the warrant because why? The father was delinquent on his child support. When I see cases where I win custody for my fathers and the mothers are not paying child support, I don't see warrants for their arrest.
wow,
I see a lot of contempt, meaning you're going to get a spank on the hand, you're going to get told over and over again to obey the court order, but I don't see a lot of warrants for their arrest. I just don't.
wow. Okay. So here are a few more stats, and then because I'm trying to keep you, because I know you're busy, and I just want to say I really appreciate
Yeah,
you taking the time out. It's so important that one thing I want them to know that Black men love their children.
absolutely.
And it's a lot of men that love it. I don't want to limit it to Black men, but I just want them to know that Black men love their children, and the ones that you see are few and far between. So I really appreciate you. I know you're busy.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, I have fathers come in this office, and I do criminal law as well. I'm trying to shift out of it, but I have seen more fathers sit in my office, 300-pound muscular men, cry because they don't see their children versus them finna go spend 6 months in jail.
wow,
And so when you see a grown man on the floor and you have to hold them like you at the altar,
wow,
they just want to see their children, it gives me a drive and a passion for that much more to fight for them.
wow. That's very compassionate. And I know we were having a discussion about how I could not find. I spent an hour looking for a video just to find men to say, I want to see my child, and
Mhm.
how they feel about not seeing their children. That might be my next documentary. And how we do not, but we can't find anything. Everything is always so negative. It's
Yeah,
deadbeat dad. He don't want his children. And then what we tend to do is play the stories of the mothers, and the sons and the daughters, and it looks like the father doesn't want to be in their life, but after a while, I don't know. That's very. I feel you on that, sis.
Yeah,
I feel you on
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. And one thing, like I always say, many times fathers, they will push away. And,
Mm,
not that I support that, but I've been a statistics of rejection and abandonment. And when someone has been so rejected and abandoned and pushed away, you kind of give up. You're like, well, forget it. And so
yeah.
I try to always tell the fathers, no, if you want to hire me, we're going to fight and we're going to fight to the end. If you don't think you want to fight to the end, please don't hire me, because I'm probably more passionate than probably the men are themselves, because I know the importance of it. I grew up without a father. And because of that, um, young women grow up and they become very promiscuous. They fall in
Hmm.
love with men that they should never fall in love with. And then they begin to love for the wrong reasons. That was my story. And I believe that was my story because I didn't have that father. So anytime a man came to my life, I was, holding on to that person because I felt like this is the only man that's going to have my, my heart or my security. And then
Hmm.
that rolled over to me having father issues with my heavenly father. So anytime something would not go my way, I always would say, well, it's to be expected.
Right.
Father is just like my earthly father. He's not answering my prayers. He's not doing this. And so I had to get delivered because
Yeah.
I really was treating my heavenly father the way that my biological father treated me. But I had to go through a lot of deliverance. And our father, our spiritual father, Apostle Ivory Hopkins, really helped me to get me delivered. And, I was a hard case. Probably not as hard as you, but I was a hard case.
Telling dad on you. So here's some more stats. We're gonna after I read these stats, we're gonna take a commercial break, and then we're gonna come back and we're just gonna ask some questions, and then to see if anybody want to ask anything. And I love what you're doing. You're setting good groundwork. And I just wanted to say, if you had not heard, she's a saved woman. She's a saved prophet. She has a book that says. You better not be lying because I'm gonna expose it. It doesn't say it doesn't say that, but he has an awesome book. I can't remember the book, but I know we shared about it. I have a copy of it, and but I just want to let you know that she's a saved woman, and she does hear from God, and that's the best type of lawyer you can have. So here's some more stats: 24 million children in America. 1 out of 3 lived in biological father absent homes. That's sad, is 1 out of 3. The second, 35% of children whose parents are no longer living together have no contact with their non-custodial parent. Usually it's the father. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
Two-thirds of mothers thinks dads are replaceable either by mom or other men. Sometimes,
Mhm.
because we know that children, their mothers can be crackheads out here, prostituting them, sold them, done cut them, and they still want their parent.
Right.
Another stat: 63% of men who live with their children say they help their child with homework at least 7 times a week. 54% say they take their child to and from activities several times a week or more. Only 10% of their fathers who lived apart from the children are able to help with homework, and only 11% took their child to do to do um, from to and from their activities. And so I just thought that was very, very important that we know that these fathers, and this is from divorced dads. So
Mhm.
we know the importance of the father being at home. I don't care what you say. My dad was in the home, and I think I'm trying to think. My dad was in the home until I was about 9 or 10. Then my parents divorced, maybe when I was about 13 or 14 years old. So we're going to take a station break, and then we're going to come back. And I have some questions for this woman, a God, this attorney here. And hopefully, as I was sitting there, the Lord was giving me these questions. I hope you can answer. They ain't too hard. Listen, she can probably rapid fire 200 questions in 10 minutes. So don't let that smile fool you. So we'll be right back for station identification. I just got to find the commercial. Just bear with me. Bear with me.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom, man. Well, the first thing Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on.
This is Latia Davis, owner and CEO of Made by TLT Virtuous Veiling. Covered in Beauty, Made in Prayer is not just a tagline. It's my mission to make garments that are beautiful, affordable, and inspired by God. Sewing is my passion, and every garment is made with you in mind.
Hello, my name is Diane Kelly. I'm the founder and director of Felsher Tutoring Services. We offer tutoring services for medical assistant. Here is what we do.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. We are FTS certified.
Welcome back to JTOL TV Talk, where I am your host, Sonia Green, with my special guest, Deidra Nicole Haynes. I want to put her whole name because that's what I'm used to calling her. She is here as my special guest, and we're talking about father rights. And listen, if you guys don't mind, can you please share? Just, it doesn't cost you anything. Share, going like JTOL TV Productions, going like that. Listen, we're trying to build a community where the information comes from the bottom up and not from the top down. So I just want to say again, thank you, sis, for taking the time out. I know you're very busy. You got cases coming up. So I just have a few questions. So what is joint custody?
Okay, so there's two forms of custody. Is joint physical custody and joint legal custody. So joint physical custody means that the child or the children reside with mom and dad equally. That can look a variety of ways. It can look 7 days on with mom, 7 days off. It can look 3 days with Monday, Tuesday with mom, Wednesday, Thursday with father, and then they alternate the weekends. That's joint physical custody. Joint legal custody simply means that the non-custodial parent has the right to share in three important parts of the child's life: education, medical, and religious beliefs. And so that means that the mother or the custodial parent cannot make those decisions by herself. So she has to consult with the non-custodial parent, which is typically the father, in regards to, say that mom is, she is a, I don't know, Buddhist and dad's a Christian. She can't go and, do some type of religious ritual without consulting father. If they have an issue, they got to go to mediation, kind of flush it out. If they cannot get along as far as making, decisions in regards to religion, medical, or education, then the court will come in and help the parents make a decision. That's what you don't want to do. And so what will happen is the court will take evidence or hear evidence in regards to both sides, see who's being the more reasonable parent. Let me give you an example. Now, everybody's probably going to get mad at this example, but it's an example. It's a real example. During the pandemic, most individuals or some individuals didn't want their children to wear masks because they was completely against masks, or they didn't want them to get the vaccine shot when they were eligible to get the vaccine shot. Each attorney had to make a plausible argument why mass was important or why mass was not important. And
Wow.
so if there was an issue where the child has asthma and the custodial parent didn't believe in mask, but the non-custodial said, listen, child has asthma, these masks are going to be very important. But opposing counsel may say masks are not important because the child has asthma, it's going to restrict the child's breathing. You see how there's really good points on both sides, because if you have asthma, wearing a mask can truly restrict the child's breathing. But then again, if the child has asthma, you want to make sure that the child is protected as much as possible by wearing a mask. So the court will come in and they will send both parties to a mediator. The mediator is a neutral person who's going to hear both sides and then make a recommendation to the court.
Wow, you are pretty smart. I'm about to give you a couple of quarters. That's what the old people used to say. Here, come on, let me give you a couple of these quarters. So my second question, how can men get joint custody or visitation to see their children?
Well, I want to first start with divorce. Usually when a couple is married, usually you'll see the father, he'll move out, and then he'll have his own apartment. He'll keep the house where the wife is there, so that, because that's a common ground for the children. They don't want the children to change schools. But I always tell the fathers, wrong move. Do not move out. Move to the next bedroom or whatever. Because once they move out, the time away from the children begins to roll. And so now I'm just going to say mother, the custodial parent now has a more stronger argument to say, listen, father's not even in the house helping me raise the child. So he doesn't need to have joint parenting time, joint physical custody, because he's not there anymore. And so the court will take that into consideration, because divorces can take, well, first of all, it's going to take 60 days before anything happens in the state of Indiana. But when there are a lot of assets involved and a lot of issues involved, divorces can take 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. And now you have a father who's out there in his apartment for 8 months, and he's not having that physical contact with the children every day. So she has a stronger argument to say, listen, I should be the sole caretaker for the child, because dad's out here living in his apartment with his new girlfriend and hasn't been involved with the children for 8 months, or he's only been exercising parenting time every other weekend. And so I always tell fathers, don't move out. Stay right there in their house until the divorce is over. Now, if there's domestic violence, of course, get yourself, out of that situation, because most of the time the father is going to be blamed for domestic violence. Where you see a lot of the women, which I was one of these women, I would strike first, but then I would be the one that was crying victim.
Listen, y'all, she's from the east side of Detroit. Yes, she is. Well, I'm about to get where my brother at. No, just but that's very good. So that's good. So if he doesn't move out, and so let's say he does move out and they go to court, it causes them. She has an upper leg because the judge gonna say why you didn't move out, basically, right? Why didn't you stay in the home? So what if we didn't know that was the law?
Well, I always and they most fathers don't know that, and so I always tell individuals or fathers, because that's who my practice is kind of centered around. Once you move out, please hire an attorney, because we can file what is called a preliminary hearing, so that we can quickly address these matters. You move out, and within a month, file that preliminary hearing, hire an attorney so we can file a preliminary hearing, so that we can address with the court. Listen, father has raised these children since birth. They're 13 and 14 now, for example. He's raised the children since birth. They're not getting along. It's better for them to separate than to stay in the home. But, Your Honor, we're asking that custody is shared while this divorce is pending, so that he's not kind of isolated and spending all that time away. And so preliminary issues before the court will be child support, custody, and parenting time. And so we will always be asking for, especially if he's raised a child, I'm always going to ask for joint physical and joint legal custody, always. But I think that one of the things that fathers make the biggest mistake is moving out and waiting for the whole divorce to kind of get resolved, which can take quite a while. And then the mother, in my opinion, has kind of got a leg up, or the trump card, in regards to saying, I should be the primary caretaker.
Next question: what if the boyfriend, we're gonna say in this case, pays child support, but he got a crazy mama, and she tells him, "You can't see my kid," even though the court said set up the child support and visitation rights. But the woman, the mother of the child, will not allow the dad, who are not married, to see the child. What happens in those situations?
Well, what we usually do, we file what is called a rule to show cause, and that's really showing the court that mother has to now explain to the court the cause why she's not obeying the court order. Now, I can say the state of Indiana has been getting very good at really addressing and putting the heat on mothers. Like, no, you're going to obey this court order, because I'll go in the court and I'll tell you, listen, this mother doesn't respect you, the judge, and doesn't respect the judicial system at all. Because if you continue to disobey the court order, you're not showing any respect. And so what usually happens in one of my cases, where mother kept doing this, she kept disobeying the court order and not being in compliance with the court order, the judge actually took custody away from mom and gave custody to father. Now that's very rare, but it did happen in one of our cases.
Wow, wow. Okay, so they need to they have a leg to stand on, because I find that many men pay child support, they want to see their kid, but the mother be like, "Nope, I'm mad at you. You didn't do this or whatever. You don't want to give me whatever."
Yeah.
So if they get a girlfriend,
yeah, I have a case right now and tomorrow that I will be fighting for that very reason. Father petitioned to see his children since 2020. Here we finna go into 2022. He has spent less than 10 days with his father, with his children, because mother continues to disobey the court order. So we're gonna see how that goes.
wow,
All y'all be out there praying, because this father really deserves to see his children.
wow, wow, that's deep right there. So so we know that, so you already explained the rights. We know that the rights that the father have is to be a father to their children. They have to be able to have that right. What if a dad comes and say the court order comes and say, hey, you can see that, you take the kids on the weekend, but the mother like, you're not taking them anywhere, and you're gonna visit them here, or I'm going with you. We just saw something on Insecure where the guy, they were just friends with benefits, and she wound up pregnant. And when she wound up pregnant, he was like, well, he wasn't sure if he wanted to be a dad, but then it kind of, something kicked in. And when he tried to be a dad to his new son, she was like, nope, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. So that's a tough fight right there.
Yeah, it is. It's basically the same as divorce, but here's the dilemma when the parties have not been married and they have children. Um, the father has absolutely no rights until paternity is established. So if mother says, and they know that they had intercourse and they were in a relationship, and mother knows that that really is the father. Father knows that this is my child. But if mother gets mad at father and he comes and say, listen, let me take the child, on the weekend, whatever, she can say no, and she has every right to say no, because he has not established paternity in the courts. And the law says you're not the father. You're not the father until you establish paternity. So the best thing for the father to do is, as soon as the mother begins to reject his parenting time or reject his opportunity to visit with the child, is to file a petition of paternity to establish paternity, along with custody, parenting time, and child support. But if paternity has not been established and you guys are just going by, the trust of each other, mother has every right to say, you're not the father. You can't tell me what to do, and I'm not releasing these children to you.
Wow. Now here's another question, since you brought that up. I know in Michigan, I don't know there, Michigan says that if you're married to a woman and she's pregnant by another man, that becomes your child. How do you handle that?
Okay, so say that mother is married to Peter.
The husband, yep, they're married.
Yep, they're married.
Go out and have an affair and brings the child back in the home. The husband says, I'm going to divorce you, but because they're married, the husband is still responsible for paying child support for that child, which isn't his.
Well, let me pull back a little bit. The husband is automatically deemed to be the biological father.
Because they're married?
Because they're married.
Okay.
However, if the husband knows that mother went out and had an affair, he has suspicion that that's not his child, he needs to immediately hire an attorney, because as time passed on, he will be deemed the father. And if he just sat back and did nothing about it, it's very hard to get that overturned.
Wow.
So as soon as you have that, that suspicion, you need to quickly hire an attorney, file a petition with the court to establish paternity. And if paternity is established and you are not the father, even though you are the husband, then the court is not going to stick the husband with the responsibilities of the child.
Wow. So here's another question. We kind of touched on it a little bit. And we talked about what happens when a father goes to jail for not paying child support. So how does that get rectified? Because there's a possibility that he loses his job. Well, is it a felon now, right? Is it a felon?
It depends.
Okay.
It can be a class, a misdemeanor, but if you are a habitual offender, then it can go into a level 6 felony. So it really depends on the level of habitual conduct that you've been involved in. And so, how you usually kind of get out of, I don't want to say get out of, but kind of make an argument before the court, is you have to show the court the factors. Listen, this father is working. If you put him in jail, he's going to lose his job. He's definitely not going to be able to pay. And that's when you have to kind of enter into an agreement in regards to the arrears. And we have something that's called the Indiana Child Support Calculator. And so it kind of sets out what his child support should be. But if he can't pay it, then for some reason, say that he loses his job, or he gets another job and it's less than what he used to make, then he needs to file what is called a modification of child support. If he does not, the court is not going to tell you to file a modification of child support because your income has went down or because you have lost your job. You will still be, if you were making, I don't know, $30 an hour, you're still going to be assessed at making $30 an hour, although you're on unemployment, until you file what is called the modification of child support.
Wow.
Yeah, so you have to do your responsibility. You have to be responsible.
I'm gonna hire you. You a bomb diggity, man. I love what you're saying to me. I like this, man. You almost make me want to go and practice law.
Come
almost.
on.
My friends you almost make me want to go, but every time I see y'all reading those as much reading as y'all do, I'll be like, I can't do it. Y'all spend too much time reading, and I just don't have that time. So and we're gonna. So what I want to do, sorry, I'm trying to open up this page, but I'm gonna ask you a few more questions. I promise I'm gonna have you off at the appropriate time. I promise you that. So we have a few more questions, and I'm gonna put some questions out there to the audience. I'm gonna show a few more commercials. You do the commercial on here, sis. I just want you to say, and and then I want to show this video from TED Talk about a man who talked about being a father and being fatherless. I thought it was very good. And then we're going to wrap it up from there. So here's a few more questions. Let me see. I'm making sure. Can the mother leave town with the children without the father's consent or approval by the court? Can she just say, I'm done. I'm taking my kids. I can do what I want to do. These my kids. You ain't paying no child support. The third mouth.
No, she can't. If there's a current court order in place, then she must file a motion with the court for relocation. If it is, I believe in the state of Indiana, if it's less than 20 miles, if she's moving less than 20 miles, she don't have to update the court. I think it's 10 or 20. I think it's 20. If she's less than 20 miles, if she doesn't have to update the court or the father in regards to where she's moving to. Now, she eventually has to give father her new address, but she doesn't have to file permission to relocate. Okay. But say that the case started here in Indiana. She says, I love Sonia Green. I'm finna go to Detroit with my children. And, Sonia says she's going to welcome me in her home. She just cannot just move. She just can't move from Indiana to Detroit. Now, does it happen? Absolutely. But at that time, if she did not file a motion to relocate, then the father's attorney can file a motion to have the children brought back to the state of Indiana. And I had cases in regards to that as well.
Well, because I know for my son, once we got I forgot the word, permanent status here for the children. And she just thought she could take the kids because she was the mother out across the border. And the judge said, if you don't have these kids back here in the tomorrow or day, whatever day she gave them, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
She had them back. Yeah,
Yeah.
she had them back. So wow, I didn't because I've seen plenty of women just pick up and move.
Yeah, absolutely. They do it all the time. And then if they do file a motion to relocate, then father has a certain amount of time to respond, either saying I object to that relocation, because if she files that motion, he doesn't say anything, then she's free to leave.
Oh wow, 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 wow.
So that's
Okay.
why I always tell my clients, keep me on retainer, keep me as your attorney, because I'm going to get that notice. Sometimes people, people's lives are busy and things come in the mail. You don't always open it up, and that's clicking. But for an attorney who has their appearance on file, we get notifications anytime anything touches or happens on the case.
Yeah, I know one thing we're about to do. Like so, my son passed, and then their mother just came in maybe a week and a half after we had just buried him, and they have been living with us for 8 years. And she just took them. They didn't have time to grieve. She really didn't spend a lot of time with them. Took them to California, and basically tells us sometimes she might let us see. You might see them until they're 18. So right now we're filing for grandparents' rights.
Yeah.
Because I believe we're going to get it. I believe we're going to get a greater measure because my son is deceased. We had them for 8 years,
Yep.
almost 9 years. So, but yeah, it is a messy thing. And especially if you got women, especially these young girls, they don't realize the importance of a father being in their children's lives. I will say this to some of these women, and it's not just younger women, it's still older women be tripping and acting all crazy. You need to just go and look up fatherless children and hear the cries from these children's heart regarding not having their dads in their lives.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they don't need their mother, but not having a father in their lives and how it has, like Deidra even said, her dad not being in her life, how you miss that protector. Like I didn't have, even though my dad was there, but he wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have that protector. I don't even know what it's like really to have a dad. And just like you said, Dad, Apostle Ivory started out as spiritual, but to me, I don't really seek a lot of spiritual things from him in a sense more than more of a fatherly position. We know how we do.
Yep.
And he gives us that. And guess what? And it's awesome because he always calls us when we need him the most. We don't even have to pick up the phone. Hey, daughter.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that about him and Ma. And I thank Ma for allowing him to be that in our lives because he didn't have to do it. He's very busy, especially now, right? So
Yeah,
sis, I'm going to play a couple of commercials. And then I want you to come back and we're going to wrap it up. Tell us a little again about your spot. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to find your page and put the lawyer stuff up there. And again, she practices in Indiana. I'm trying to get her to come to Michigan because Michigan really needs you. And because there was a gentleman here, he made national news. They were making him pay child support for a kid that wasn't his, and he had all the proof and did everything that you said, but they were like, they did not care.
Wow. Wow. Well, I can give you a little nugget. I have hired an associate. She is from Detroit, and so we are having some discussion in regards to having a practice area in Detroit. It's nothing permanent now, but we have had discussions about it, and so she's licensed in Detroit, and so we're trying to take our practice in Detroit as well.
Come on here so I can come and visit you. Am I gonna be in the law office?
Yeah, you can get the office.
Hayes Green with a GH Green. No, you're the boss. So Hayes Green and what's her name? Whatever her name is. What I do, I don't look, I just talk mess. You go to jail. I can be like the you ever see it's a guy on a commercial and he puts his mother up. It's a law firm. He does they call them ambulance chasers. And the people love his mother more than they love him. So he pushes her in those commercials. But let's go to these commercials, sis, and I promise you I'm gonna have you done and so you can go and do what you do. I really appreciate what you're doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this commercial break. Hey guys, thank you again for watching JTOL TV Talk. Again, I want to take the time to really say how much I appreciate you taking time out your day to come and rock with us, be part of the conversation. I just want to thank you for my special guest, Attorney Deidra Hayes, all the way from going back to Indiana, Jackson 5 City State. I'm sorry, Jackson 5 State. She's a practicing attorney in Indiana, and we were discussing father rights. You know, when we were on break, I just wanted to say I thought about something. What if a father cannot, let's say the court says you're going to pay, but I think you kind of hit on it. You got to pay $500 every 2 weeks or every week, and he can't afford to pay that. You said that Indiana has a pay scale, right?
Well, we have what's called a calculator, Indiana child support calculator. So what happens is we take the amount that the father pays or makes, and the amount that the mother makes as well, and we put it in that calculator along with other things such as how many overnights that the father is exercising with the child, because that lowers his child support. If he's paying health care through his employer, that lowers his child support. And so all of that is thrown into the child support calculator, and it will determine how much he should actually be making. But if the court determines, or if that child support calculation, the numbers are the numbers. If the numbers come out that he needs to, or he's supposed to be paying $500 a week, or every 2 weeks, then that is the number. He's going to have to try to work it out. But if it's that high, it's because he has a substantial income to pay that child support.
Wow.
The things I noticed though, most, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but most mothers or custodial parents they fight against giving father joint physical custody, because the court will look at the overnights. If the child is actually spending overnights with the father or the non-custodial parent, his child support goes down substantially. And so mothers, in my opinion, or non-custodial parents, they fight against that. Why? Because they want a higher child support. But for me, I'm like, don't you want a day out? Don't you want a girls' night out? Don't you want the kids are not always mama, mama, mama? but I don't know. The new generation is different. I was
They
begging
are
my
different.
fathers, please take the kids. I need a breather.
I wish I listen, and that's crazy because it's almost like people saying they can be healed, but they'd rather not be healed so they can collect Social Security,
Yeah.
right? Which is ridiculous, right? Wow, I didn't even think of that. That is very interesting. So basically, you're saying to us, I just want to make sure that people understand it. If a father who's not the physical custodian, but he does have joint custody in his visitation time, if he takes the children out more outside of his normal visitation time, then the child support will drop.
Well, but it has to be through the court. If he's just randomly doing it,
Okay.
the court doesn't know what's going on. So he has
Okay.
to file a modification saying, listen, I'm spending much more time with the children with overnights, and I need my child support modified, and also my custody modified or parenting time modified. So yeah, it really is based on the number of overnights. That the number of overnights really drives the number up or drives the number down.
Well, I have a question for you again. So, what if a father, because we're talking about fathers, what if a father he pays his child support, but then the mother be like, well, I need this and I need that, and give me this and give me that. So, is he obligated?
No,
And but does that count? It doesn't count toward his child support, right?
no, it
That's
doesn't. No, it doesn't. And I always tell fathers, listen, you got to be a father. If the baby need a coat, go get the baby a coat. But he's not obligated to do anything extra outside of child support. Now, during negotiation, there is something that's called controlled expenses. Controlled
okay.
expenses mean that the father can account for, and that will also lower his child support as well. Account for, school supplies, school
Okay.
clothing, and things of that sort. And that can be credited to him to also lower the child support.
Wow. One of the questions was, how can women be held accountable for using children as a weapon?
Well, that's the thing. We have to be able to prove that they're using the children as a weapon. And in some cases, women definitely do that. How can they be held accountable? Is by going to court, filing a motion, a rule to show cause, or a motion for contempt, indicating to the court that mother is doing things that's spiteful, or she may be talking about the court case to the children. That's a big no-no here in the state of Indiana. The judges do not want the children to be involved, do not want them to be in the middle of child support or adult issues. And if we do have documentation or proof of that, then the court will hold that mother responsible. Now, what that looks like is very different. Doesn't mean they're going to go to jail. It
Wow.
means that they're probably pretty much going to get a slap on the hand. The only thing that I think is a result that the fathers can get when women use the children as a weapon is that we ask for attorney fees, and attorney fees can be high. But in the American jurisdiction, attorney fees are really something that judges don't like to give out. Everybody needs to pay for their own attorney fees. But if mothers are constantly using children as a weapon or constantly disobeying the court order, we have had many times attorney fees granted in our favor so that we can give it back to our client.
Wow. Okay. So sis, listen, so we got less than 5 minutes. What do you want to say?
Well, I just want to say in my opinion, to the mothers, be open. Fathers that they have rights, they have feelings, and they care for their children. Be open to allow fathers to be able to participate in the upbringing and the uprearing of their children, because fathers are important.
What? That's it.
That's
I
it.
was waiting for a closing argument.
It's really just that simple, Sonia, that mothers need to allow fathers to exercise their rights. They didn't make the child by themselves. And so until I think one of the issues that happens is that fathers, they don't know their rights. They don't know that they have equal rights, but they don't know it because many fathers will call my office and say, I already know the court already are, they're against fathers. But really in the state of, I can't speak for other states, but really in the state of Indiana, I have seen the judges that I've go before, they really do help fathers become part of the uprearing. And so I really appreciate my judges in the state of Indiana.
Wow, sis, I really appreciate you so much. You have blessed my socks off, and just with the knowledge you shared. And so I'm still gonna tell Dad that you were cutting up, but I thank you, and I just got you gonna be such a great judge when it comes down to family court. I just can't wait to see it. Listen, I'm gonna be all at the. Don't be forget me. Invite me to them events. My husband might be a judge.
No, I have no desire to be a judge.
You know,
Absolutely not.
right? You like so judging is easy. It seems like it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'll get bored with it because I mean I'm not gonna say judges is it's easy because it's not. Sometimes judges have to make very hard decisions when parents are bickering back and forth. But for me, I like to litigate. I like fighting for the rights of those who are taken advantage of or who's overlooked. And when you're a judge, you have to kind of be neutral and listen to the facts and take both sides into consideration. But when you're a litigator, you're fighting for your client and you're taking your client's side into consideration.
I hear you. And I just want to say I got a lot of friends who are judges too. Forgive me, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't want to, I just know that they don't do, I know what y'all do. I seen what the attorneys do, and I also seen what judges do. So I don't want to take for granted to make y'all think that they really don't do nothing. Judges do a lot of work as well. But I just want to say, sis, I appreciate you so much. I told y'all I'll have you off in an hour, and I'm going to show this video. You can jump off. Listen, again, give us your phone number, give us your name of your law firm. Don't you, I think you have a Facebook page, right? Not your personal Facebook page, but your business page. Can you tell us all of that?
Absolutely. My business page is the Law Office of Deidra Haynes. We're located in Indianapolis, Indiana at 7007 Graham Road, Suite 102. And our phone number, 317-982-7396. Please do not call me if you do not reside in the state of Indiana because I will not be able to assist you.
Don't y'all get retainer fees or something if you, hey, I got this friend. Can you take them? But sis, I thank you. Listen, I'm gonna be praying for you. I appreciate you so much. And listen, so I'm going to show a video. I'm gonna drop you down. You can watch it if you want. You can drop off. But I just want to say thank you so much. And let me just say this. Please just go like the page. Just go like the page so she can get, so she can get her numbers up. And she's not me and her probably about the same thing. We care nothing about numbers. But if more people can see that fathers have rights, it might stir something up in them where they can spend some time with their children. So go like her page, go like JTOL TV page, TV Productions page, and so we can get more information out here so you can become part of the conversation. My name is Sonia Green, and I am the host of JTOL TV Talk. This is Attorney days from going back to Indiana. I'm sorry, I'm a Jackson 5 fanatic. And but an attorney from Indiana, she practices criminal law, but her main focus is father rights. And if you need somebody to fight for the rights of a father, and if you live in Indiana, give this woman a call, and she can help you. Listen, the only way you're gonna lose because of you, not because of her. So she said, is she near Chicago? She in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah, I'm about 3 hours away from Chicago, but I do handle cases in Lake County. Is that Lake County? What is Gary, Indiana? Is that Lake County?
That's where the Jackson 5 live. I don't know.
Girl, I don't know. If that's as long as you're in Indiana, because I believe Gary is about 30 minutes away from Chicago. As long as you reside in at least any part of Indiana, I will be able to represent you.
Okay.
About 3 hours away from Chicago.
Yeah. So all right, sis. So thank you. So what she said, oh, I am 20 minutes from Gary, but in Chicago. Yeah. So yeah. So but I'm gonna play this video for you guys and just watch it, sis. Good luck with everything tomorrow. Well, we don't believe in luck, but the blessings of God be upon you, and you go ahead and get them straight. Get them straight. Let them know. Let them know you from the east side of Detroit. And bless you and thank you so much. for you all, I'm gonna drop you down, D. So for you all, I'm getting ready to play a video about fathers' right. It's about 15 minutes long. It's a very good video. It's a TED talk, and I would love for you to stay and watch it. So, and then we'll come back. We're gonna close the show out. 1 second, just 1 second. Bear with me. Where is it? Window. There we go. No, here it is.
This is something that's real passionate to me. I am the executive director of Crisis Pregnancy Center. And in that calling, I see young ladies and young men coming through our doors with a lack of fathering. And when we see that lack of fathering, when they witness a strong male figure, something in them takes place. Something positive takes place within them. And what's interesting about that is that they begin to see themselves in a positive light. Please understand this, that every single social ill that we're dealing with is directly or indirectly related to fatherlessness. Do you realize that close to 81% of teen pregnancies come from fatherless homes? I'm talking 80% of all of our kids that are on the street right now homeless, fatherless homes. We're talking 71% of the male population in the penal system right now, fatherless homes. Now, these are just a few of the documented stats. I mean, the economic impact cannot even be calculated because it's estimated that 41% of the kids that are in fatherless homes will be poorer than their biological dad. It is just absolutely astonishing. Now, again, I'm the executive director of Crisis Pregnancy Center here in Reno. And I've developed a program called Daddy Academy. Now, the probability of these young men coming through our doors understanding what it is to be a father is pretty dim. Pretty dim, especially in light of the facts that I just mentioned. And so what we've done is we develop programs and we develop workshops that are specifically designated to help them see the importance of fathering. And we've expanded this not only to our community outreach, and not only in our areas of our teens, but we also spread it out in the community. We've got local judges that have grabbed a hold of our programs. We have local people that are seriously involved in what we're trying to do. Now, the interesting thing about this, we've seen a dramatic change as a direct result of this program. I was talking to some of our young ladies, and it was 4 things that they said that they wish they had. Those 4 things, when they grew up without a dad, was this. They said they wish they had protection. They said they wish they had provision. They said they wish they had presence. And they wish they had praise. Now, I want you to hear what's happening, because I've talked also to some of the guys out there, some of the pimps out there. They said not every young lady is pimpable. But when she lacks those very things, when she lacks those things that would cause her to feel better about herself, she's more willing to do things that goes against her morals. It's unbelievably uncanny, the father rift and the father wound that is so prevalent. We're talking 24 million children right now globally in fatherless homes. So I'm asking this afternoon for you to listen to what I have to say, because this wound is deep. It's extremely deep, and it affects our whole culture. Now, hear my heart when I say this. Mothers, I'm not saying that you're not doing a great job, because you are. But there's certain things that only a father can, certain things that a dad can bring to bear. Now, I'll be perfectly frank with you. I didn't have a father growing up. My dad died when I was in middle school. And when he died when I was in middle school, it caused me to grope for a father figure. And because I groped for a father figure, I looked for it everywhere. See, there's a deep desire in all of us to have significance, a deep desire for all of us to have confirmation. Now, see, I would be remiss not to say this being a pastor, but Jesus needed affirmation. For when he came up out of the water after being baptized, It said that he heard three things from heaven. He heard his father say this: "You're my son, I love you, and I'm pleased with you." Now, if the Son of God needed affirmation from a father figure, you and I need that very same thing. My heart this afternoon is to talk to you and to convey to you the importance of fathering. Again, growing up without a father, there was things that I groped for. But I learned something. I learned that me fathering others, I can vicariously father myself. I can heal the father wound in me by fathering others. Now, fathering, I guess you'd call them kids, men that are old enough to be my dad that I fathered, daughters that are old enough to be my mother, so age is of no significance. It's something that is deeply rooted within us, that affirmation that we must have. You know, I will share something extremely personal. Earlier this year, my sister died. And this is a long line of unfortunate siblings that have died in the last 10 years. This was really personal. This one really hurt. Because my sister was more or less she was like a twin. A year older than me, but she was a twin. And I was broken, really broken. And I was just hurting. And of course, my other family members called and said, "We need you here." And so my wife and I, we made arrangements to make that 6-7 hour drive from Reno to Henderson. And my son comes to me and he says, "Dad, I'm going to go with you. I mean, I want to pay respects to my aunt, but I want to be there for you." I said, "Oh, okay, son, I know that I need it." And so we make our trek there, and we get there, and about the day after, we go to the funeral home, and we begin to make the arrangements. And unfortunately, some of the things that my sister wanted, the funeral people didn't have prepared. And I began to be frustrated. Now, already, my heart is already broken, and I'm wounded, and my emotions are frayed. But it was interesting to me that my son, Dominic, he says, "Dad, no, I'll take care of it. No, really, I'll take care of it, Pops." And he began to intervene on my behalf. He began to do some things and say some things that I recognized at that moment that he was my father. I recognized the very things that I was looking for, the provision, the protection, the praise. All those things were coming out. And the very one that I was supposed to be fathering, he began to father me. My point in this whole circumstance is that all of us have that desperate need. All of us have that desire to recognize that we're of worth. Now, when that happened to me, it caused a healing in my heart. Because, see, there's a father wound, and nationally and internationally, it's a father wound that only fathers can feel.
I'm going to ask something. That's something great of you. Your father, your dad.
So again, thank you all for watching. I just wanted to give you a little bit of that. I thought it was a great video. You can go find it on TED Talk. It is called The Father's Wound. And it really blessed my socks off. And I played it bless your socks off. Again, my name is Sonia Green, and I am the host of JTOL TV Talk. I'd like to thank my special guest, attorney Deidra Nicole Hayes from Indianapolis, Indiana, and came and spoke to us about fathers' rights. Men, you do have a right to be a father to your children. And listen, what we always say at JTOL TV Talk, become part of the conversation. Come on, somebody. Listen, we believe that boots on the ground is better than seats in the suits. Why? Because boots have the heart and the ears of America. So you all have a wonderful night. Listen, always become part of the conversation. My name is Sonia Green, and this is JTOL TV Talk. Have a great night. God bless.
here next time on JTOL, Just Thinking Out Loud, where we ask and answer questions no one is willing to ask.